Hey everyone, welcome back to the Poplar Report. I know a lot of people are talking about what happens day after tomorrow. What happens on Monday when inauguration happens? Is there going to be civil unrest? Is there going to be a lot of chaos happening? Probably, because these people who have done nothing but try to stop Donald Trump up to this point are probably not going to quit now. They're probably going to throw everything they have at him, or they're going to be trying to move out of the country. And since they're not trying to move out of the country, that tells us exactly what's going to happen next. But I want to give you some specifics. We're going to be talking about some things that we have on our radar and some of the things that we're going to speculate a little bit about specifically. We're not just going to talk about generalities. We're going to talk about specifics, okay? That's what this channel is about, providing facts, providing information so that you can make good decisions and stay ahead of the mob, right? So welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and if you haven't been here before, thanks so much for stopping by. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Most of you guys have been here for quite a while. Make sure that subscribe button is still depressed because some people don't like us meeting here. All right. Well, we got some big news out there before we get to Monday. Tomorrow, Sunday afternoon, or Sunday, we have this massive it's a rebrand of the Women's March from back when Trump got first elected, right? In 2016, the women put on their funny-looking, weird pink hats, and they went out for a march to protest or something against people voting for the wrong person. Well, they're going to do it again. They rebranded it this year, so it's going to be a little bit different, but basically, it's going to be a bunch of liberals screaming at the sky. That's where those memes came from, was that march. We're probably going to get a whole bunch more memes from these people, people losing their minds. And as you gather them all together, it's going to get truly epic, right? So they're going to be screaming at the sky. They're going to be having group tribal drum dances and stuff. I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to be really upset about it. And they're going to try to cause as much chaos and mayhem as possible so they can blame it on Trump or something, somehow. Something that happens before he gets into office is going to be his fault. But with that in mind, if that's what they're going to do before he gets into office, you can just imagine what they're going to do after. Now, we already know that Trump is going to come in and he's got 100 executive orders ready to go. And they're saying that he's going to try to sign 25 within the first 24 hours. So one per hour for the first 24 hours. And he's going to maybe get a couple hours of sleep and a couple Diet Cokes in on that time, right? So we have executive orders are going to start coming fast and furious. We're going to see signing ceremony after signing ceremony after signing ceremony. With his pens, he's going to be giving the pens out to all the people. They're going to have to be bringing in a crew of people who are going to be there for the signing of the executive order, and then the next crew has to come in to sign the next one. Stock markets are going to be closed on Monday. And why do I bring up the stock markets? Because, friends, the stock market is poised to drop. And there's a number of reasons for this. One of the biggest reasons is China. Now, of course, I didn't say it properly. China. China's having a lot of problems. Their financial system, their stock market, everything happening over there is bad and getting worse. And people don't realize how dependent upon China the entire world's financial system is. And why is that? Why is that, Steve? Tell us why the entire world economy is dependent upon China. It's not just because they got the manufacturing facilities over there. No, it's because everyone's loaned China so much stinking money. If I loan you $100, I own you. Or make it $1 million. If I loan you $1 million, I own you. Well, in this example, probably not. A bank loans you $1 million. If a bank loans you $1 billion, you own the bank, right? There's a certain point where the money is so much that that the bank or the person loaning the money is actually more at risk than the person who took out the loan in the first place. Why? Because the person who took out the loan in the first place has the money or has the thing that they bought with the money. So China's bought, bridges, highways, high-speed rails. They've built airports. They've built ports. They've built everything with it. So a bank over in Europe or the United States, what can they really do? Are you really going to go over to China and take their bridge from them? How do you even do that? You can't take their bridge from them. You're going to be like, you owe us money. And they're going to be like, we're just not going to pay you back. Sorry, shouldn't have loaned us the money in the first place, right? That's where a lot of banks are right now. China can just not pay them back. And these banks realize it seemed like a good idea at the time, but now we're seeing it's probably not such a great idea that we loan so much money to China. And the Chinese economy is imploding. But the thing is, if China doesn't pay back all these loans, there's going to be a lot of other banks imploding around the world and in the United States. So the stock market has been ignoring this problem because they keep saying, well, the Chinese are going to bail out their own stock market. They're going to bail out their financial system. They're going to crank out more money and they're going to make the problem go away. And China's been doing that. China's been just dumping money into the markets. Dumping money into this, dumping money into that. They've been printing money like it's going out of style. They actually are giving the United States Federal Reserve a run for its money. They are dumping money into the markets. They're dumping money into the financial system, and it's not working. It hasn't worked. And right about now, people are starting to realize that that giant dumpster fire over in China, that financial dumpster fire, is about to get blown by some Los Angeles type winds, and it's going to burn the entire world down. That's kind of what we're looking at right now. Once we start getting just an inkling of China defaulting on some of its debt, we're going to see something big. And it's going to make the devastation in Los Angeles look like nothing. We're going to see banks start to collapse. And we're not talking about small banks here. We're not talking about mom and pop's little credit union down the street. We're talking about major, big name banks. These banks have so much exposure to China. They've loaned so much money to China. They have so many, quote, investments in China. And the Chinese economy isn't working anymore. The Trump tariffs worked. Trump scared the living lights out of CEOs and corporations and made it known to them that they need to get out of China. They need to move their manufacturing out of China. They can go anywhere they want. They just can't have it in China. And so for the last 4 years, they've still been doing that. It takes a while to move your factories. It takes a while to move your supply chains out of a country and into another country. And what we're seeing is that the manufacturing capacity of China that's owned by other countries has dropped dramatically. Now, the Chinese manufacturing owned by the Chinese and Chinese government is still there. They got a considerable amount. They got tons of it. But American companies, European companies even, have moved their manufacturing out of China because they fear a trade war. They fear that the United States will do to China what the United States did to Russia, which is basically go in and seize all of their assets of anyone who's done business with that country and punish them by just seizing the assets. And so none of these companies want to be in that situation again, and they see the writing on the wall. So the situation in China is bad. The situation is that we are all much more exposed to it than anyone cares to share. And so people in the stock markets are starting to notice, and they are really concerned. And that concern has really started to bubble to the surface over the last few days. Why did the stock market start kind of having some issues last week? This is one of the big reasons. But not only that, but people are realizing that Trump tariffs are going to cost money. They're going to impact the financial markets, at least in the near term. And they're going to impact China, which is a problem, remember? So this is not going to make things better. It's going to make things worse, at least in the short term. And then on top of that, not only the tariffs, but also cutting expenses in the federal government, spending less money is bad for the economy. At least that's what they're going to see it as. And so we got major cuts. We got the China happening out there, but then we also have another major crisis that's happening right now. It's a stupid crisis, and yet we've just slammed into the debt ceiling. The Biden administration has weaseled this just perfectly so that we'd hit the debt ceiling literally the day after Trump takes office, which is Tuesday. So a lot of this is going to start going down on Tuesday. We're going to have major immigration raids. Apparently there's a major immigration raid in Chicago scheduled for Tuesday, which you have to ask yourself the question, that shouldn't have been leaked. Who leaked that? Because that's not how immigration raids are supposed to work, where you get 3 or 4 days advance warning, right? So we have that. We got immigration raids. We have executive orders. We have the debt ceiling that we're going to smack into, which is also bad for the stock market. They're going to start doing extraordinary measures over at the government, where they're going to start playing monkey games with the numbers, which doesn't really do anything other than the fact that it is going to allow them to keep spending money without accounting for that money. Which, if you're like, that sounds super shady, it absolutely is. It's more shady than you can imagine. Anyway, they're going to do it anyway. And so this is the game that they play. They're going to do that for a while, and then they're going to start running out of money, and they're going to be like, okay, we can play these games until this point. At that point, if we don't raise the debt ceiling, we're going to have a serious problem. We're going to have we're going to have to shut down the government, which, in my personal opinion, is a great idea. Shut down the government. Should definitely do that. I think that Trump should get into office and nix the extraordinary measures, allow the government to shut down. He can then shut down any non-essential employee so that they don't show up at work. And basically, he should just never reopen the government. That I think is my personal preference of how they should do it. Are they going to do it my way? Probably not. They got other ways of doing things, and they're going to do things their way, right? But so we have this. Janet Yellen was out there, and basically, as her last little hurrah, her last speech, she announced that the debt ceiling happens on January 21st, Tuesday. So Monday may be rather quiet. Yeah, there could be violence. There could be something crazy that happens on Monday. I don't know. I don't have anything to point at. Are the leftists crazy? Absolutely. Are the leftists that are in D.C. going to probably go off the handle on Sunday, tomorrow? Yeah, probably. That's probably going to happen. Are some of them going to stick around and try to cause trouble on Monday? Possibly. But I think most leftists are upset, but they kind of at least realize that we're going to survive the next 4 years. So I don't think they're going to, as a whole, do anything too crazy. And we saw Barack Hussein Obama talking and laughing with Donald Trump. Now that the election is over, all these swamp creatures in D.C. are trying to convert Donald Trump into their swamp. They're trying to get him as muddy as possible. And so that's what they're trying to do right now. When he doesn't agree to get muddy with them, that's when we're going to start seeing them really trying to stab him in the back in all sorts of directions. But they're going to give him probably just a little bit of time period to settle in, get everybody used to seeing him in office, then they want to hit him with everything. They do want to give them a little bit of a honeymoon because they don't want to come out and see like, then they can be like, oh, well, we tried to give them a chance and all that kind of stuff. This is a DC stupidity that they do every time. So that's kind of what we got coming up here that we know of. So Sunday, major protest in Washington, D.C. That's probably going to go off the reservation pretty fast. We're going to have the inauguration inside due to the cold being dangerous. Some people speculating, are there other things that are dangerous that aren't being mentioned? Possibly, but we do know that Donald Trump is the one who made the call to move it indoors. So if he's not telling us, it's not a conspiracy if your guy's in on it too, right? So we got that happening, and then Tuesday is when we're going to start seeing some fireworks, I believe. I believe we're going to see the stock market start taking a hit, whether it happens immediately on Tuesday or whether it takes a few more days or maybe even a week or two to kind of settle in. But the stuff happening in China right now is going to affect the stock market sooner or later, and when it does, it's going to happen in a big way. We got a lot of other problems here in the United States, and as numbers stop being fudged in favor of the resident, we're going to start seeing the stock market being impacted there too. Federal Reserve has shown that they're not going to give any support to Donald Trump whatsoever. They don't like him. He's not part of the deep state. They're going to try taking him out, and they're going to do that by trying to collapse the stock market. And here's the thing. It's not just going to be them changing the interest rates. The Federal Reserve has access to a very large amount of debt and money. What they can start doing is they can start sucking money out of the stock market. And I believe they're going to start doing this. We're going to see that they're going to start decreasing their balance sheet, and that is going to have the effect of reverse money printing. So they money print into the markets and they money print into the economy. Well, they're going to be doing the opposite. They're going to be withdrawing money out of the markets, and they're going to do this quietly, and nobody's going to realize what they're doing except for the few people that actually check those numbers. Weird people like accountants. When we see that, we're going to see that they're actively sabotaging the stock market. And you better believe that's what they're going to do. And they're going to do it relatively early in his presidency because they want to pin this right on him, and they want it to be, they just want to embarrass him as best they can and try to get people to turn on him so that they can stop his agenda. So, stock market, I'd say high probability that we're going to see a stock market major decline, if not an outright stock market crash. I'm warning you, I think the only thing you really should be doing right now in the stock market is shorting it. And that's what I'm doing. Full disclosure, that's what I'm doing. Anyway, if you guys want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.